Well, you know what? I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go see if Christmas is really around the corner. Okay, here's a for you, and you can tell this joke to your friends if you want. Why are Dasher and Dancer always talking and taking coffee breaks? No guesses? Because they are Santa's Starbucks. I like that one. And just in closing, do you remember Andy Rooney? In 60, I loved Andy Rooney. And he said this: one of the most glorious messes in the world is the mess created in the living room on Christmas Day. Don't clean it up too quickly. Isn't that sweet? That is so sweet. I love it. So yesterday was winter solstice. Did anybody do anything to honor? I bet you did, Reverend Emma. Just to honor winter solstice. And remember, it is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. And it's literally where they say that the sun stands still. Isn't that crazy? For 3 days. So we're still in it. We're still in it. We're still in it. So it's a time when one cycle ends and one cycle begins. And I'm going to read some of this because I don't want to forget any of it, okay? So, throughout the history, people have celebrated solstice because it signified the coming of the light. It's a coming of the dark as well, to where you go within. You know, I think bears have the right idea by hibernating. I don't know about you, but I'm telling you, are underrated, aren't they? I mean, naps come in so handy, especially at wintertime. It's so nice to just kind of just cocoon in. And that's what this time is. Time is saying, you know what? The light of the world is changing, and it's about to get brighter. It will as the months proceed. But right now, this is the time to go within and to seek within, to take pause and go, what's working in my life? What's good for me and what isn't? And that doesn't mean just the sweets at holiday time. It's like, what's good for me? What relationships are good for me? What things am I talking about that are spinning me in the juices that aren't so hotsy-totsy for me? So just remember that this week, we get to examine what's changeless in nature. What's the heart and soul of my being? And it's knowing that Spirit is always there. Spirit is always present. It is always changeless. Everything else in our life can change, but Spirit is always there. And if it seems like Spirit changed, who didn't show up? It isn't Spirit, it's us. We show up for ourselves and be present to know things. Solstice comes from the Latin word, the standing still of the sun. And for us, it becomes a time that we can reflect, we can let go, we can examine, we can just be present. And you know, the holiday festivals, when we celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, all the stuff that we want to celebrate, whatever it is you celebrate, take time to celebrate yourself. Take time to celebrate being present, being healthful, being inspired, whatever it is. Some scholars, I found this very interesting, I thought I'd share it with you. Some scholars have written that Christmas is really an ancient pagan tradition celebrating the rebirth of the sun, not the Son of God. So it's interesting that through the years of translation, they say it's not the birth of the sun up above, and that they think that Jesus was more likely born in the spring, but we celebrate it now, and it's interesting that it's celebrated around the solstice, the birth of the light coming back in. So for 3 days, the sun will pause in its journey as a sacred stillness, beckoning us to do the same, to pause in our journey and think about things and to reflect. It's also a time of reverence, of gratitude, to kind of let go of things that might have been stopping or blocking us. So we have the ability to direct our lives any direction that we want to go. And sometimes we forget that. I don't know about you, but in the hustle bustle that's going on out there and all that stuff, it's like we forget that that's right, I am in charge. I can direct things. I can choose what feelings I feel and which ones I want to let go of, what words I want to choose and which ones to let go of. So this is your cosmic invitation to simply be, to pause, to breathe, and to honor who you are in this moment. Have you done that this week? I don't hear a big resounding. Okay, yeah. Okay, so guess what? Now you're reminded and you can go out and do it. So the rebirth of the sun, this is from Scott Aubrey, he writes for CSL. The rebirth of the sun at winter solstice signifies a renewal of the she embarks on another cycle of life. And because we are the children of earth, we can take part in this sacred cycle, feeling the renewal of our own life. So I encourage you to go out today, just take some moment of silence and go, feel the rebirth going on in you. Feel that new in you. We're going to celebrate the life of and ideas of Reverend Beverly today. So just think about the life force that's continually going on. Even after we leave this earth plane, it still goes on. And it's vital. It's vital. So this is the time that we celebrate the birth of Jesus. Now, it may be a time of celebration with your families and loved ones, but I'll tell you, a lot of folks that I'm talking to are scurrying, trying to find the right gift, and this thing came in the wrong size, and oh my God, I ordered this thing, and it's not going to be here till after Christmas, and what am I going to do? And we get overwhelmed, don't we? Sometimes we can get overwhelmed. I think we were getting a little overwhelmed decorating and stuff. But it's important to pull back and remember, you know what? This too shall pass. This too shall pass. And when we get through that feeling of, sometimes our legs may be moving and we're on autopilot, but it's like, hey, wait a second, I need to slow down and I need to take a breath. And it's important to just remind ourselves to take a breath. And if your friends are doing it, you look at them and go, hey, take time. Your time out right now. Time out. Not in the corner. Time out. Just go be. Just go be. We scramble around to get these right things and make preparations and all that kind of stuff. But we need to prepare also for our own heart and soul. We need to just prepare to let things be. It's important to pay attention to what's going on in your life. To be mindful of physical, your emotional, and your spiritual atmosphere in. And to be present to it. There's that thing that that saying that says, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And I used to think all the time, oh, that means I got to kick it up a notch. Change that. Now, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. That means, now I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get in touch with what direction I want to go and be quiet about it. Now my new thing is work smarter. Work smarter, not harder, instead of kick it up a notch and get going. So this can be a tough time for us doers. Any doers out there? Do. Oh yeah, but Elena, you better Nancy, you better raise your hand. You both raise your hands. Yes, and Maria, wherever she is, she better raise her hand. She's not here right now, but she better raise her hand. Us doers have to, pull on the brakes, just put on the brakes and go, hey, it's a good time. I can breathe. I read an article about a woman, and she said every year she picks a word for herself. And she said her word for this year was enough. The word was enough. Now think about this. Enough can have a lot of meaning. The negative side of I'm not good enough, I'm not happy enough, I'm not enough, I'm not healthy enough, whatever it is, it's not enough, right? Or it can mean I am enough. Just as I am enough. Everything I do, it's enough. The words I say, the people I greet, the things I do, it's enough. And when you give yourself permission to be enough, what happens? Those floodgates open of creativity, of feeling at peace, of feeling a sense of love, and then being able to pour out that love. Because when you're not feeling like enough, you can't spill it out to everybody else because you're not feeling it yourself, right? So it's important to be thinking, I am enough. So I encourage you, think of a word maybe. Maybe that can be your assignment for this year. It's like, think of a word. What's going to be your word for 2025? What's the word for you that it can be your goal to shoot towards? And it can be your trigger word that you can remind yourself when you're off somewhere. You can go, oh yeah, that's right. My word's enough. I don't have to, I'm okay. It's all enough. Give yourself some time to think about your word. Now, I need to point this out, pointing it out to myself as I was writing this, that unrest in life can happen for a very good reason. I don't know if you felt like that, but when things are going out of kilter, it can be for a very good reason. And then we can see the areas that we need to let into our lives more. If it's not working out, it means we have not allowed our ideal picture to show up. And what do? We go back to the drawing board. What is it that I really want? What do I want to create in my experience? How am I contributing to it? How am I not contributing to it? And then know the difference and activate it. That's what you have to do. All those irritations, all those annoyances, all those not so hotsy-totsy feelings are there because you have not allowed yourself to create the life you want to create. No one else is stopping or blocking you. It may seem like it, but they're only in your experience because you have some withholdings yourself. So let them all go. The issues that are showing up are the issues running your life and your experience. You don't want them anymore? Dismiss them. Let them go, and don't let anything come in place. Now, it's common at Christmas time for kids to leave a plate of cookies and milk and carrots for the reindeer. Did you do that as a kid? I didn't do that. I did cookies and I did milk. I don't think we did the carrot thing, but that's okay. So the whole idea is you're feeding Santa, like you're buttering him up, like, I'm going to give him cookies, he's going to leave me more presents. But that's not exactly the way it is. But think about that for a second, about the ritual of that. Is that what we feed expands. What are you feeding? What are you feeding in your life? What great things are you feeding? What great visions are you feeding? What great friendships are you feeding? Hire me today, you know, whatever it is. So come from the place of what is it that you create in your life. And then I had this vision. Has anybody been baking over Christmas? Oh, yay, a couple people. I have not been baking yet, but I plan to this weekend. So think about it. The art of manifestation is just like baking cookies. Just like baking cookies. So I want to go through the steps of baking cookies, because it's easy. You can bake a chocolate chip, whatever it is you want. But the art in creating what it is that you want is just like baking cookies. So what's the first thing you do when you're baking cookies? You preheat the oven. Sometimes I forget to do that. So think about what preheating the oven does in your spiritual activity. You are getting ready for the thing that you desire. When you preheat the oven, your spiritual oven, you're creating an atmosphere for the thing it is that you desire. You're having a vision. Now, first of all, you set out in the kitchen, you go, I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies. Now, you're not going to broil a salmon, so you get the different ingredients for the thing that it is that you want to create. But first, you have to have a vision of what it is that you want. So you're preheating the oven, you're setting the tone, you're setting your spiritual atmosphere, and you're getting ready. Then you gather the ingredients, your eggs, your baking soda, your flour, and all that stuff, right? You gather all that stuff together. So when you have things all line up to create the experience and the thing it is that you want. Now you've preheated, you've got all your ingredients, and that means you're getting ready for the thing that you desire. You mix the ingredients together. If you leave one ingredient out, everything goes south. Have you ever left an ingredient out of cookies? Oh my God. My brother, I was visiting my family, and my brother was telling me, oh, I made these low sugar cinnamon cookies. I go, oh, wow. And he and his wife looked at each other and they go, they were terrible. They turned out right into the trash can. And I go, well, what? He goes, well, the ingredients were kind of weird. He goes, it was just flour, 1 egg, cinnamon, some baking soda, and that was it. I go, there's no butter, there's no sweetener, there's no sugar. He goes, I had a couple tablespoons of sugar, and it said, if the dough is too hard, add water. I go, water? Oh my God. So he said they tasted like paste. And I said, oh my goodness. So I remember, anybody ever make Lebkuchen cookies? The German molasses cookies? Oh my God, as you stir those things, you're getting working up your muscles, trust me. And we were making some for my brother a couple years ago. My sister does not cook or bake at all. So she's like, are you sure this is right? I'm like, it is, it's right. It's supposed to be stiff, Well, we forgot something. We baked them and they looked beautiful. We bit into them. I'm like, oh, these are the nastiest cookies I've ever had in my life. But guess what? That's like our life. If we forget an ingredient, we forget to put something in. Oh yeah, now think about it. You may go, oh, I wouldn't forget an ingredient when I've got a vision about something. Oh, really? So have you ever met anyone that said, oh, I want the ideal mate. I want the ideal mate. Oh, he's perfect for me, da-da-da-da-da. He shows up and everything's great except he's married. Or you want the ideal girlfriend, da-da-da, and she lives in Florida, right? So you've got to really hone your picture. We're not talking outlining where it's like it's got to be absolute this, but we're talking, you've got to create a picture of what it is you want. And also, when you're making the cookies, just like when you're making your spiritual request, you've got to know that you deserve it. You've got to know, not only are you enough, but that, and I ought to have it. That's the Emma Curtis Hopkins saying. But know that not only is it a great vision, but it's a great vision for me, and I deserve to have it. Because sometimes we'll make the vision, but we'll make it for somebody else, not for ourselves, because we deserve it. So that's the difference. Okay. And so there we go. So there we've been. Now we've mixed our ingredients together. Now think of it about it as what you want. Okay, so now we form the dough. Okay, so we're forming the dough, we're putting it on the cookie sheet, and we're making it the size of the cookie we want. Now, but sometimes I use a scoop, or sometimes I don't, and I just roll it like this and put it on the cookie sheet and cook it. But sometimes, if you make too big of a cookie, it's a little bit hard to eat, and it's so funny. I had a dream, and that's why I incorporated this, and I had a dream that I was with someone when we were going to get cookies, and the cookie was ginormous, and I said, well, you know, that's like a cookie for like 5 people. So what we did was we were breaking it off. So remember, sometimes when you're making a wish, don't bite off more than you can chew. Anybody ever done that before other than me? Where you go, oh, I'm so ambitious, this, and this, and all of a sudden you get overwhelmed and go, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. It's too much for me. I gotta do something different. So the thing is that you want to bite off as much as you can chew. Create something that's workable, not something that's overwhelming. And don't settle just a little greatness also. Don't make your cookies so tiny. Don't make your spiritual request so tiny that it's like, oh yeah, of course I can create that. That's nothing. Because dream as big as you want, and don't settle for less and then say, oh, it's okay. It's all right. It's okay. I can settle for this. Don't settle. Create the vision that you want and bake it, man. Just bake it. Now the cookies are on the cookie sheet. You're baking them for the set amount of time at the perfect temperature, right? And then when they're done, great. You pull a cookie. Have you ever pulled out your cookies and they're not done? Have you ever pulled out a dream and it's not done? And you go, oh, see, it didn't show up, wasn't meant for me, it wasn't meant to be, it didn't happen. No, you abandoned too soon. Maybe there were other things out there that needed to percolate before that dream could happen. So think about it, just like the cookies. Don't pull your dream out of the oven before it's cooked. And sometimes we overcook it too. It's like, okay, work this thing to death and I'm gonna make sure it shows up. And then what happens? It becomes overwhelming, or something that's unfulfilling, or something that you didn't want to begin with. And then guess what? You can start over baking some new cookies, I guess. So there are times when we abandon our good and what we desire before it comes to fruition. So remember, give yourself time to let things go up and let things happen. It's not going to happen in your time, it happens in God's time. And that may sound like a cop-out to some people, and I know I said it to a friend, and she goes, oh, that's just a way of saying, I go, no. Sometimes things need to a certain way in order for things to show up. Have you ever, I've talked to people that have met their partner, and they said, if I didn't stop at that store at that time, I would have missed him. I've been out the door, and then I met him, or whatever it is. We have to allow for them to evolve naturally the way they're supposed to. Just trust that the vision that you've put out there is happening in your experience. It's happening in your experience, not maybe in your time. So you just be patient, and you just know, oh, all things are working out for my good. It turns out exactly and according to our thought. So you never give up. You just stick with your vision. Ernest told me, if you will take time daily to sense the presence of life within you, to believe in it, to accept it, it will not be long before the life which you have known will gradually disappear, and something new will be born, a bigger and more perfect you. You will pass from death into life, and from lack and want into greater freedom, from fear into faith. So this is a time that we're celebrating a birth. So I ask you, what's looking in you? Take this time. What's asking to be born in you? What are some new thoughts? What are some new activities? What are some new ideas? What's a new way of life? Whatever it is. What's asking to be born in you? And pay attention to it. During this time, we're more mindful. We're more mindful because it's Christmas time and we're sharing with our loved ones and being with people, and it's about expressing our love, etc. Be mindful of that time. Be present to, what's this love done to transform me? How am I allowing love to transform me and to bring out my best? To bring out the lights that shine. That lights on the Christmas tree. It's that brightness, that bring out that light in you. Remember, Christmas isn't a day or a season. It's a feeling. A feeling. Now go out there and make it a fabulous day. And so it is. All right. And now we're going to have another song.